All right, showtime. It is 6 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Our usual YouTube live every Monday evening, 6 o'clock. What a Monday it has been. Quite an eventful. We're going to talk about it. And we will also talk about the fact that the market is at all-time high. How far can it go? Is there any way I can use some tools to find what can be the next target for the index or any sector or stock? We'll put in some effort and talk about that in today's YouTube live. Um, Good evening once again, and nothing more important than looking at charts. And so I'll quickly share my screen. So there you go. This is the three time frame charts that I generally look at: the weekly, the daily, and the 125-minute time frame. We had a phenomenal move in today's trade. I was not expecting an open at the tune of 800 points and more, because I was more of the view that the markets to a lot of extent would have definitely taken care of that. Nevertheless, all-time high, big move. Heiken and Ashes do not reflect gap ups and gap downs. So I'm going to just change the middle chart. If I just which can reflect the gap ups, you can clearly see this. So it was an opening high for the Nifty and it stayed down, then bounced back towards the end. It was a healthy 700 plus gainer for the Nifty, a gap up to an all-time high. Now, this is not a breakaway gap. This is not exactly the kind of, there are four different types of gaps, by the way. This does not fall in any particular category. I can say it's kind of a runaway gap, kind of a runaway gap. Of course, all these sectors, broader markets, everything was very, very healthy and positive, except barring few something like CNX Pharma and IT, which couldn't match the kind of exuberance and rally that was noticed by a PSU bank or energy, real estate, or for that matter, Bank Nifty. Let's quickly discuss the view on the Nifty, and then we can kind of look into what are the ways and tools in which I had used them in my past. I use them once in a while nowadays to figure out or kind of apprehend what can be the next target when any chart is at an all-time high. So, what are we looking at? If you remember, I think last Monday, I think we discussed that the market had a great high momentum rally to an all time high. It can cool off, and it was cooling off. This was the perceived support which should have held, and it would have been a great sign. But the index slipped below that towards last Thursday's trade, stayed below that. So there was a little bit of inhibition was going to happen. These kind of inhibitions are brilliant for the market to create opposing positions. Shorts build up होगा तो ही ना gap up में उनको they'll feel the pain. And so there was a little bit of inhibition, and today morning with a huge move up, the index is back to an all-time high. um, in terms of price, in terms of the underlying momentum of these charts, it's brilliant, it's fine, it's holding well. By tomorrow late morning, we'll all get the final numbers, and I think this part of the market story event will be behind us, and we'll next look forward to how price will adjust itself to the reality and day on day on day movements of prices. Weekly charts, which is on my left hand side, this one um, is definitely showing very good strength in terms of price. The trend is far more superior than the underlying momentum reading on my charts, which I have spoken about this multiple times in the past, which have led to a range bound market, choppy market. There's no particular reason or evidence on the charts to go bearish, full stop. So one should not be looking to short the index at all. Are there any scope to go long? Now, when the higher time frames trend and momentum do not match, it's always a better idea that you wait for some corrections in the lower time frame to look for buying opportunities. On my charts, I have a short-term RSI on the tune of RSI 2 period. You can use 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything between 2 and 5, one can consider as a fairly short-term parameter. And yes, every time you see these kind of slant divergences on the weekly, if the next lower time frame goes oversold, they tend to give you good, relatively good signals uh, that okay, the index can bounce back. The same can be done when they go overbought. That is, they are where the resistances lie. Stay bullish. This is not the market to even look for bearishness on the overall sector. In my weekly analysis, which I share in my YouTube channel, I was looking at few index like a CNX Energy, which was uh, at the cusp of giving us a breakout failure, kind of a feeling, which was giving us here, as well as something like this. But then that did not play out. What we were anticipating, markets had something else in its mind. So overall, most of the charts will be strongly bullish in terms of trend momentum. So very important. This is not the kind of market just because it has gone up. It's not the right thought process कि हम इसको short करेंगे until and unless you have enough evidences, right? I will take up some questions. I can already see that Shivaji, hi, good evening. You have posted a question. Others, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to post it in the chat box. I'll take a look at it. But like I do in every Monday evening, I think last week I spoke about breakout failure, right? And over here, I would like to talk about the fact that the market is at an all-time high. What kind of tools can you use to kind of figure out where can it go? Now, it's always a better idea, a good idea that you use long-term charts for this analysis, something like a weekly or a monthly. A daily will give you targets which will be shallow and you will not be able to work with them. So for example, we are here at the CNX Energy chart. So I can just talk about this a little bit. So in this particular chart, we can clearly see, we don't need any indicators per se. Pure candles over here, I use Heiken Ashi. Pure Heiken Ashi can do the trick. Now over here, there is a clean pattern, which, it's called, okay, let me not use this. Let me use simple trend lines. So which is known as an ascending triangle, right? Yes, that's better. And then I can draw the lower levels of this ascending triangle. It's more or less, it looks something like this, right? Heiken Ashi gives me that a little bit of a more clarity when it comes to patterns. And when you see that the stock is coming out of any significant pattern, then one thing that any trader can do is calculate, any trader can do, chart-based technical trader can do, is calculate the height of that pattern, the particular width of that pattern. You copy this and you paste it from where it is breaking out, and then you will get to see that where can be the, the respective target based on this pattern. If this pattern plays out correct, then this is where the bare minimum move can be. That's one way. Now, come on, you cannot have patterns in each and every chart, right? Well, for example, for example, Nifty, I don't see any particular pattern per se. So how do I draw any kind of upsides? Any clue? Anyone would suggest anything? What kind of a tool should I use, or any suggestions in the chat box? That in this kind of a market situation, how can I find out any levels on the upsides? Any suggestions that which way or what are the ways in which one can figure out or try to figure out any kind of targets? No? All right. So one tool which was very close to my heart, and I had worked at it for a significant span of time much earlier, was the Fibonacci price and time tools, right? I have not worked too much on Fibonacci time because we trade price. Price is ultimate. So I'm not here to pinpoint time. I'm not an astrologer, and neither do I want to become any intention to brag that I'm right about price and time. My objective is, even if I'm not right most of the time, I should be able to catch good moves. That's it. So this is more from the point of view of analysis. If you have ever attended any of my momentum training programs, you will notice मैं कभी Fibonacci draw ही नहीं करता हूँ. And if anyone asks me any question related to Fibonacci, I generally say use it for intermediate to long-term analysis. Short-term trading में esoteric tools का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं होता. You don't need it. Now, I'll show you one way. There are essentially there are two key ways. I used to call them projections, Fibonacci projection, and Fibonacci extension. These names can be interchanged. Essentially, projection for me is a 2-point projection where 2 points are considered. And for me, extension is where 3 points are considered. मैं ज़्यादा detail में नहीं जाऊंगा, but I'll just quickly tell you that if we have a move from point A to point B, and the market has come down to point C, and now it has crossed point B, उसने point B को cross कर लिया है, then point D कहाँ हो सकता है? Where can be the estimation of point D? This is what we are trying to figure out. इस figuring out में, if I consider point A and point B, point C को मैं disregard करूँ, if I disregard point C, then I will consider it to be, my task is a 2-point projection. मैं A और B से D को calculate करने का कोशिश करूँ. तो कितना deep इसने retracement दिया था, उसका कोई role नहीं है. So that's a 2-point analysis or 2-point calculation, बुला सकते हैं. I call it 2-point projection. The 3-point extension is where I will consider A to B का move क्या था, कितना था, B से C का move retracement कितना था, और फिर C से हम खींचेंगे कि D कहाँ तक जा सकता है. That's the 3-point. I used to call it extension. If I take any program in Fibonacci ever in the rest of my life, I will call them projection and extension. In fact, I think Fibonacci is part of my basic course, जिसके बारे में मैंने आपको last Monday बताया था, that technical analysis for everyone. वहाँ पे, if I'm not mistaken, I had dedicated few videos on this. So now I'm going to quickly talk about my favorite, which I generally prefer, which I find more robust, is the 2-point projection. ठीक है? So इसका मतलब we need 2 points, A, B, and वहाँ से हम उसको खींचेंगे. Now, in TradingView, which is a brilliant software, just under Fibonacci, सिर्फ Fibonacci के category के नीचे इन्होंने भर दिया है, and there are a lot of stuff. And honestly, I did not spend of my resources and efforts to be an expert on circles and spiral and arcs and wedge and pitch. Honestly, no, it will make the chart look like, I don't know, some kind of an artwork. So we're just going to focus on, you know what, just Fibonacci retracement. और किसी का ज़रूरत ही नहीं. So this tool is enough. You can see there's something called Fib extension also. But what I'm going to show you is going to be based on Fibonacci retracement. उसके पहले, another important thing is, it's a 2-point projection, right? So we need to figure out which are these 2 points. So for example, this is Nifty weekly, this is Nifty monthly. Okay, this will be an interesting chart to work with. This will be an interesting chart to work with because clearly हमें यहाँ पे और यहाँ पे एक high low, अच्छा खासा fractal high low बनते हुए दिख रहा है. यहाँ पे एक high, यहाँ पे एक low बन चुका था, and यहाँ पे एक high और यहाँ पे एक low बन चुका. So I have some concrete proper highs and lows on my chart. So first projection that I'm going to do is from this high to this low. देखते हैं क्या levels निकल के आते हैं. The way to do this is you go to Fibonacci retracement, come to that high, and go down to that low. Double click. Now, in terms of Fibonacci retracements, use 161, 261, and 2 काफी है. You don't even need to use 423.6. 4 के category में जाने का जरूरत नहीं है. If you want some short term 161 के नीचे, then you can definitely use 1.272. But I would prefer these 3 are enough: 161.8, 2.618, and 200, which is 2. So this particular projection will give us some serious upside targets of 25K and 29K जो हमारे इस और इसके बेसिस से निकल के आ रहा है। ये हम लोग कब ड्रॉ कर पाते, मींस एट व्हाट पॉइंट वी कुड हैव ड्रॉन दिस, जब ये हाई निकाला गया था. सो ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम वी कुड हैव ड्रॉन दिस, बिकॉज जब मार्केट यहाँ पे था अपने को ये हाई और ये लो साफ मिल गया था और मार्केट ने इस हाई को निकाल दिया था, तो हम इसको ड्रॉ करके छोड़ सकते. दिस इज वन. Next, meaningful high-low, as I can see, are these two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same exercise. I'm going to come to this high and I'm dropping it to the low. Now, in this case, the levels that come up, 161, 200, and 261, it's का 161 and 200, the market has easily taken care of. तो इन दोनों का ज़रूरत नहीं है. I can remove them. मैं सिर्फ 261 को छोड़ देता हूँ. ठीक है? Just leave it. जिसका वैल्यू निकल के आता है मोर और लेस वेरी क्लोज टू द प्रीवियस वन. दिस इज 24,600, दिस इज 25,000. So we have drawn two Fibonacci projection, this wave and this wave. And the other one that I can see very clearly is this one and this one. So the third and final Fib projection that I'm going to drop is from this point to this point. And I have to get back 161 and 200. और मैं फिर उसके बाद चेक करूंगा कि 161 इसने निकाल दिया, 200 अभी इसने निकाला नहीं है. सो आई एम डन विथ माय प्रोजेक्शंस. एंड प्रोजेक्शंस के बेसिस पे, वाओ ब्यूटीफुल, प्रोजेक्शंस के बेसिस पे आई हैव गॉट एन इमीडिएट लेवल ऑफ, आई होप यू आर एबल टू सी दिस, लेट मी ब्रिंग इट क्लोजर टू योर चार्ट. हाँ, प्रोजेक्शंस के बेसिस पे द फर्स्ट लेवल जो निकल के आ रहा है, विच इज अराउंड 23,431.45. प्लीज डू नॉट बी स्पेसिफिक अबाउट डेसिमल और इवन 431. 23,400, 23,500 के आसपास. नेक्स्ट जो लेवल निकल के आ रहा है वो 24,500, 24,600 के आसपास है. और जो काफी इंटरेस्टिंग लेवल निकल के आ रहा है जहां पे एक कॉन्फ्लुएंस है, I'm not too sure if it's not that clear on my what you can see on my screen. यहाँ पे दो फिबोनाची कॉन्फ्लुएंस हो रहा है. हम लोग ने 3 वेव्स को प्रोजेक्ट किया है. कौन किसके ऊपर कॉन्फ्लुएंस होगा, we don't know. When you get these kind of confluences, जब ऐसे कॉन्फ्लुएंस आपको मिलता है चार्ट्स पे, they tend to stand out. They tend to be a little more stronger than the rest. So this level is around 25,400, 25,500. So this is a pretty decent target to look forward to. Now, before I take this any further, does this mean, now यहाँ पे समझना बहुत जरूरी है, does this mean कि because I have projected some levels, the market will 100% go to these levels? No. Does this mean that 23,400 is a Fibonacci level or 25,400, 500 is a confluence Fibonacci level? Market will definitely come here और फिर उसके ऊपर नहीं जा पाएगा, नीचे आ जाएगा? No. Then why the hell should we draw them? What's the point of drawing them? अगर there is no such guarantee कि ये ऊपर जाएगा ही या इसके यहाँ से नीचे आएगा, if I cannot say that, then what's the point of knowing where can the index go, right? There are two answers to this. The first one is the answer which I live by nowadays, is there is no reason to know. कोई ज़रूरत ही नहीं है आपको जानने का, ये कैलकुलेट करने का कि क्या क्या लेवल्स निकल के आ सकते हैं. जस्ट लेट इट गो, जस्ट लेट राइड द ट्रेंड एंड वेट फॉर द मोमेंटम टू स्लो डाउन. Right? If you're a trader, you trail your stop loss. If you're an investor, if you feel that these are alpha returns you're getting, ये हमेशा मिलता नहीं है, then this is the time you book partial. So आपको, there is no need for you to know the targets. There is no need for me to know what's there in store for me in my future. I live every day by my best capacity merit. I enjoy the day. Whatever left of it is, let me enjoy, right? Make the most out of it. तो कितना दिन मेरे लाइफ में बाकी है उसको जानने का, there's no need. Number one. The other part of the answer is, let's say if we take this 25K, 25,500 seriously, okay? Let's say 25,000 to 25,500 का, I have a proper Fib confluence है मेरे पास. Okay, so honestly, such levels should not be disregarded. It should not be disregarded. But as a trader, see, if I'm a researcher and I'm writing reports of 5 pages or 50 pages, I can do as many arcs and circles and all, and I can write paragraphs after paragraphs. But उससे कुछ होने वाला नहीं है. So from a practical application point of view, what my mindset tells me is, let's say the index drags itself and finds itself at this zone. और यहाँ पे this level is my perceived target or let's say resistance. Perceive, मैं इसको perceive कर रहा हूँ, कहीं पे लिखा हुआ नहीं है कि ये target and resistance है. So if the index drags itself और वो अगर यहाँ पे इस zone पे आता है, then I should be looking at it more cautiously and careful, and I'll keep an extra watch. कि क्या यहाँ पे कोई signs of negativity पैदा हो रहा है, like a negative divergence, like any candlestick pattern, like any sign of distribution that the stock has gone range bound and volumes have picked up. So I'll be extra careful. Knowing very clearly, ये तोड़ के ऊपर जा ही सकता है, right? So if you use Fibonacci, I don't know how many of you actually use this particular tool. Use it sensibly. Don't buy this completely. कि मतलब यही है. That's the main thing. Another one thing that you can do, you're only gonna get better at it with practice. That is dropping some meaningful channels. I have seen time and again, market tends to be, tends to move or behave in some form of channel here and there. घुमा फिरा के एक channel के अंदर रहने का वो कोशिश करता है. Now, the problem over here for a student, for any kind of a market trader who uses charts, is again, there are many different types of channels. There's a parallel channel, there's a regression trend, etc., etc. So the stuff that I've drawn here is a parallel channel. There's also something called a pitchfork. अभी pitchfork में ये pitchfork है या वो pitchfork. So I don't go into too much complexities, but you will find time and again, there are episodes where the market will shoot off, offshoot itself and then find itself back in the channel. आपको channels दिखेगा. And if you see price behavior, Fibonacci projections, and some kind of a channel high or channel top or bottom एक ही जगह पे confluence हो रहा है, उस level का probability बढ़ जाता है. ठीक है? So is this the only way? No, there are various ways. If you read intricate, it becomes ABCD 1 2 3 4 5 161 1. Then it becomes really, really intricate. I don't find markets to be that complex, so I'm not getting into it. But Fibonacci projection, यहीं पे आपको Fib retracement में मिल जाएगा. It's a 2-point projection, easily plot. Let me just work on it on any one single chart stock, and then I'll quickly take a look at few of your questions. Let's say Reliance Industries, right? So Reliance Industries, we can clearly see a proper high and low here. ठीक है? So इस high से अगर इस low को हम लोग एक fib project करें with 161, 200 and 261, what a beautiful okay. What a beautiful projection it has turned out. If you can see this, इस high से इस low का जो fib projection है, when we could have drawn this, कब हम लोग को draw करना चाहिए था इस move के बाद. It doesn't make sense to draw it here. When the market was here, it doesn't make sense you drop this projection, because projection तभी निकल के आएगा जब इसका high निकलेगा. यहाँ पे हम extension draw कर सकते हैं, because extension ABC लेता है. ठीक है? Extension 3 points से लेता है. So beautiful target Fibonacci working beautiful. You can see it gave you a target of 3012, so 3K. That's exactly where the stock has faced resistances time and again. Beautiful. This time it worked wonderful. And if I extend this further, it's around 3250. Similarly, if Reliance इस लेवल को तोड़ के ऊपर निकल जाता है यहाँ पे, फिर इस हाई और इस लो के बेसिस पे we can draw another projection, drop it further, right? So like this, you can drop various channels, Fibonacci projections. If you see, अगर आपको दिखे आपके चार्ट पे कि स्टॉक एक सर्टेन जोन में था और जोन से निकल रहा है, वेरी क्लीन जोन लाइक दिस, फिर आप उसको कॉपी पेस्ट करके उसके ऊपर बिठा सकते हो दैट इतना मूवमेंट आ सकता है. सो देयर आर वेरियस वेज इन विच यू कैन kind of anticipate a level. But remember one thing, I have learned it the hard way. When you anticipate a level, जब आपको एक कुछ ना कुछ higher level निकलते हुए दिखता है, don't buy it. Don't believe this is it. Market can go way beyond that. Market won't even reach close to that ever. So these are all levels. You don't buy them, you expect, you anticipate them, but you don't fall for them, right? And if price comes close to them, that's where you become alert. That's where probably there is an opportunity. Okay? So that's on Fibonacci and how you can kind of drop higher levels or targets on the upside. I can see there are a few questions today evening. I'll quickly take them up. Shivaji, good morning. The first question is how to plot VWAP like Brian sir on TradingView. I have no clue who's Brian sir on TradingView. I use VWAP once in a while. I use a combination of VWAP and volume profile, especially after taking a trade. I like to do that. Anchored VWAP and volume profile, the combination which I personally prefer to use. I have, I think, 2 or 3 videos in my YouTube channel. You will find them useful. You can watch them. If I can, I'll quickly show you these videos. You will definitely find them useful. 1 minute. Yeah. So this is the channel. And if you come down towards the TradingView tutorials, यहाँ पे आपको कुछ VWAP, volume profile, RSI, volume profile, VWAP, 3 ways to use VWAP, कुछ काम मिलेगा आपको यहाँ पे. You might find it useful. Okay. The way I use it is, let's say, for example, Reliance Industries has given a good move from this low to this high. If I want to find out the VWAP, which I will act as a source of support, I will just go to anchored VWAP, plot it from this lowest point, double click on the anchored VWAP, change it to the low. And when I'm looking for support, I change it to a blue or a green color and let it unfold. Let the anchored VWAP kind of take its shape, right? Again, these are tools that helps you to figure out some levels, not necessarily that they will always act as good support or resistances, but that's how I use it. There are various ways. You can watch those videos. That will definitely help. I'll quickly go through the questions, skipping the stock related ones first. Towards the end, I can take up questions on any particular stock. This is a question coming from Santosh Baliga. Good evening. How should one approach if it is sitting on cash due to the election event tomorrow? Should wait for a pullback? Now, if someone is sitting on cash, then definitely the reason of sitting on cash is waiting for pullback, right? The problem is the market most of the time will tend to do the opposite of emotionally what you want to, right? For example, if emotionally you want the market to come down so that you can buy, it will not come down. Emotionally, if you think that the market has fallen too much and it should bounce back, it will not bounce back. So how should one kind of position him or herself? I agree. I completely 100% understand and agree that the kind of market that we have recently gone through, this zone, I would say, if I mark it, I would definitely say, yeah, towards the end of April, and a little before this. Throughout this phase, it's not easy. It was not easy. There were sharp sell-offs, not only on the Nifty, but on sectoral indices, especially small caps, real estate kind of charts had fallen like a rock, and they had bounced back also very, very sharp. So it is completely understandable if I had some inhibition, I was careful and cautious, I did not want to go overboard with long positions. It's completely fine. It was not a market where the trend and the momentum and everything, long-term charts were beautiful. Aisa nahi tha. It was pretty choppy. And a person who is not into the market all the time, it's not easy to time your entries uh, at the right time. It's also not easy. On the hindsight, it looks easy, but when you're actually trading, it's not. So one should always have a long-term, long-only portfolio, right? But if you're sitting on some cash and you're waiting to kind of accumulate or deploy it, but the market is at all-time high and you have your inhibition, the best thing to do, ideal thing that I've been kind of literally preaching for many years, is this: wait for short term dips, because in a strong market, deep corrections utna easily hota nahi hai. So when you get these kind of pullbacks, you can define them as pullbacks. You can accumulate a little bit, do your homework on which sector or on which particular stock. I personally do this with ETFs. मैं किसी particular stock को from a long point of view, long cash market point of view, time करने का कोशिश नहीं करता. I like to time my futures contract. But when it comes to buying a falling market, I always like to kind of deploy that capital on ETFs. ठीक है? This is echo chamber. Do we really need Feb levels? Why not just be guided by price action and volume maybe? And yes, I completely resonate with you in this. We do not need Fib levels, especially if you're trading. If you're taking short-term decisions in and out of the market, churning quickly, you do not want multiple parameters. It will just cloud your decision making. Correct? If you're an intraday trader, jitna kam parameters ho sake, utna better. All right. So no, you don't need it. And as I said, if there's anyone who is a part of my any program in the past, or you're part of my ongoing masterclass, you would have noticed I don't use them. I don't even ask you to use them, and zarurat nahi, it's not needed. But if you want to have some broader perspective of the chart or the market from a very long-term point of view, then working on the weekly charts, the monthly charts will definitely help you to figure out some levels. But you have to be matured enough to understand the levels does not guarantee a target. Once price reaches there, you need to be careful. So you don't need that, right? Let the trend unfold. Let the trend settle on its own. Let the trend slow down on its own. Let the chart tell you that, listen, I'm tired, I'm probably going to come down, rather than some anticipatory target. The second route is better. I like it more. RK show, 2 period RSI में overbought oversold कितना रखे? 90-10 रखिए. 80-20, 90-10. 90-10 is actually a much deeper correction, which will give you, whenever you plot any kind of short term RSI, एक बार प्लॉट करके आप देख लीजिए कि पास्ट में क्या क्या लेवल्स गया था. फॉर एग्जांपल, निफ्टी के जो 3-4 करेक्शन रिसेंटली हुआ था, उसमें 2 period RSI 0.39 गया था, 1.5 गया था, लोएस्ट पॉइंट का बात कर रहा हूँ, हाफ गया था, और 7.34 गया था. तो आपको समझ में आ जाना चाहिए कि ये डीपर करेक्शन 10 के नीचे, सो आप इसको लेस देन 10 रखिए, और ऊपर में जब बेयर मार्केट होगा तब ग्रेटर देन 90 रखिए. तो यूज समथिंग लाइक 10 and 90. 10 and 90 से थोड़ा सा वाइडर 80-20. 80-20 से कम तो कभी भी नहीं. ठीक है, फॉर अ 2 period RSI. Shushant, is it? Yes. Can you suggest books on technical analysis along with your course? Along with my course, if it's your question, you don't need it. अगर आपको टेक्निकल एनालिसिस स्टैंड अलोन सीखना है, समझना है, देयर आर मल्टीपल बुक्स. I started my reading with John J. Murphy. I actually read a very small book one lazy afternoon from my library in 2004. मुझे ऑथर का नाम याद नहीं है, बहुत छोटा सा एक किताब था, पतला सा. That sparked the interest in the subject. उसके बाद the next book which I got hold of was Technical Analysis of Financial Markets, written by John J. Murphy. I find John J. Murphy's writing to be very simple, clear, uh, nicely paced. So I always suggest start your technical analysis readings at the very, very nascent stage with John J. Murphy. उसके बाद आप बहुत लोगों का काम पढ़ सकते हो. यू कैन रीड देन स्किल अप टू मार्टिन प्रिंग एंड पेरी कॉफमैन एंड Larry Williams, Larry Connors, and the list is long. But John J. Murphy is a very good starting point. If it is learning is just you're interested and passionate about the subject, don't ask anyone कौन सा किताब पढ़ूं या ना पढ़ूं. You should be passionate enough to read whatever you get hold of. ठीक है? Be a student of the subject forever. That's number one. कुछ रीडिंग्स के बाद आफ्टर यू हैव रेड 2 or 3 बेसिक बुक्स, आपको चौथा बेसिक बुक पढ़ने का जरूरत नहीं है. बिकॉज यू टेक द बुक, यू लुक एट द चैप्टर्स, यू नो दैट यू मोर और लेस अंडरस्टैंड. करेक्ट. उसके बाद जो आप बुक्स उठाएंगे, दे मे बी प्रॉबली ऑन विल बी ऑन एनी स्पेसिफिक टॉपिक लाइक अ ट्रेडिंग साइकोलॉजी और रिस्क मैनेजमेंट, राइट. सो स्पेसिफिक बुक्स. तो इट्स लाइक MBA के फर्स्ट ईयर में सब पढ़ाया जाता है, फिर सेकेंड ईयर में आप स्पेशलाइज करते हो. लाइक MBBS में आप मोर और लेस बहुत कुछ पढ़ते हो, देन दैट पर्टिकुलर डॉक्टर बिकम्स a specialized doctor in a particular part of the body. So like this, at the beginning, be wildly passionate and read as much as you can, understand. But as you slowly mature with the subject, आप धीरे धीरे filter out करना चालू करो. मेरे कोर्स के लिए कुछ बुक्स कुछ पढ़ने का जरूरत नहीं. Nothing. You just have to understand what I explained. Okay, couple of more questions. This is from Manish. Hi. How do you scan your opportunity to trade within 108 stock universe? Do you check each stock every day? Not every day do I check all the 108. I try to do that every day, but I use a parallel software wherein I code my scanners. End of the day around 7:30 after my dinner, I update that software. I run the scanner. वो थदर थदर करके results निकाल के देता है. I check them. But हाँ, most of the days I try that I check most of those 108 names. जैसे I should know back of my mind, अगर 4 व्हीलर्स ऑटो का बात करें तो मारुति रेंज बाउंड है, टाटा मोटर्स शार्प बाउंस बैक के बाद एक इक्वली शार्प बाउंस. सो it should be back of my mind, and if I close my eyes, I know Maruti, Tata Motors, M&M. Matlab, it should be there. You should have that kind of feel and quick recollection of that particular chart. Okay, so Vignesh, hi. Good evening. The word Vignesh brings in very fond memory because the person under whom I started my career back in 2005 June with MK Shares and Stockbroker, almost 20 साल पहले, was under a person named Vignesh. So grateful to infinity. Without few people, I couldn't have managed to start my career. Nevertheless, I'm sure this is not that Vignesh, but what's your view on the IT? Will it bounce back? IT has been very close to my analysis, isn't it? Because we were talking about IT, we were marking these highs, we were expecting that yaar yahan pe some kind of a divergence bana ke it should give us a bounce. Well, it did give us a bounce, but yahan pe the 3-4 main large caps did not perform. Coforge, Persistence, Emphasis, all those stocks performed. They came down equally sharp, so it clearly shows that the sector is not completely out of the shadows. what's the call now? I think I discussed this in my Saturday's market analysis. It's there on my YouTube video. आप देख सकते हो, those who are interested. वहाँ पे एक India market analysis में आपको दिखेगा. I would rather not look to do anything. I would rather wait for a proper close from the CNX IT, either beyond last week's low or beyond last week's high. What it has created last week is an outside bar, right? It has again broken below recent lows, and it has again managed to give us a short-term bounce back. It is extremely important to figure out whether this is a trap or not. So कोई जल्दबाजी करने का जरूरत नहीं है. If you think IT has corrected more than 15% and you're eager to deploy your cash and you want to buy IT stock, and the next question is, sir, कौन सा IT stock खरीदूं? I would tell you, just don't try and time a particular stock. You can just go for the IT ETF, right? Just keep on buying some IT ETFs, break down your capital. अगर आपके पास, I'm just giving hypothetical, सोचिए अगर 10,000 रुपए आप इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हो इन दिस IT फॉल, उसको 3 भाग में या 4 भाग में तोड़ दीजिए और थोड़ा थोड़ा करके IT ETF खरीदिए. Don't try to time any particular stock if you're not active in the market. If you're an active market participant, it's a different story. In terms of direction, last week का जो range उसने बना के ये outside bar बनाया है, it's extremely important, especially from the point of view of upsides. ऊपर जाने के लिए it is extremely important it scales beyond that. जब तक ये scale नहीं होता है ये, तब तक it can stay more on the downside and choppy, volatile. जो भी करे, जैसे भी करे, it is important. That level is very important. This one. ठीक है. Stock specific movements can happen, may happen, but as a collective bouquet of IT stocks, last week's high is important, right? Okay, I think that's where we have come to an end of today's interaction. As I had shared with you, if you had any doubts and questions towards the masterclass, feel free to connect with us. And yes, few of you had taken up that technical analysis for everyone with a pretty heavy discount, and you had come back to me that it was useful, especially for those who are starting from the ABC, from the basic. So that's technical analysis for everyone for you, right? Okay, so tomorrow, D-Day, I hope that we have results in line with whatever opinions and the markets have decided to move, so that there is much lesser choppiness and volatility. Hopefully the trend will sustain itself, and it will be the next rest of the month will be stable enough for us to trade. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in, and every Monday evening that I am in these YouTube lives. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Good night.